with the Salvation Army from Ballroom DE in the Pasadena Convention Center. It's Not So Late Night Live with S.A. Justice and your host, Major Danielle Strickland. Tonight, Danielle welcomes Commissioner James Knaggs, Captain Lisa Barnes, Envoy Roy Snapp-Kolas, and featuring musical guest, the Territorial Youth Chorus. Now, please welcome your host, Territorial Social Justice Secretary of the USA Western Territory, Major Danielle Strickland.
Good evening, and welcome to SA Justice Live. Just turn to somebody beside you and say, woo! That was pretty good. You did pretty good. Maybe do two woos. Ready? Ready, go. Yeah. This is a not so late night with SA Justice Live, just for those of you who demographically might need some assistance a little later. So if you had coffee at dinner, you're probably good. Anyway, you're going to be up anyway, so you might as well be here. Edmund Burke once said that the only thing necessary for evil to triumph in the world is for good people to do nothing. And in today's world, where the backdrop of our contemporary society is some great injustices, like just to name a few, the commodification of human beings, the world's fastest growing market is in humans, right? Gender inequality rages on the earth. The death of persons not yet born is happening. There's a refugee crisis like we've never seen before. There's all kinds of these global problems happening. Homelessness is ravaging our cities. And so I don't think we can actually be found guilty of standing still. We mean to actually move something. You know, William Booth was once asked to describe the mission of the Salvation Army, and he said, the mission of the Salvation Army is the banishment of wickedness on the earth. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? Like, I was just thinking, everyone has permission here to put that on your business card. Just, what do? I banish wickedness. You? It'd be cool, right? It's just like, there's a name for that, but I can't say it. Okay, so, but in that great, mighty tradition, SA Justice seeks to inform, inspire, and instigate social justice in this mighty USA Western Territory. And so there are reps that have assembled from every division. We're gonna kind of push back some fear and paralysis, because we figure there's no better time, no better place, no better people than to begin the fight against injustice and to continue it than right now. Right now, let's begin. You want it? You want to begin? Okay, well, I don't actually mean begin. Because I have this, usually what happens when we face injustices is we have this, like, filing system that we use. I'm going to tell you about this. You probably already know about it. And we file injustices for the most part, especially the ones facing us in these categories. It's either too political, know what I mean? Anyone? Kyle Smith? Anyone? Kyle Smith? Anyone? Okay. Or it's too personal. Know what I mean? Gets a little uncomfortable, or it's just plain too controversial in our apolitical, very good people of the Salvation Army. Many of our injustices get filed away in these categories, and so then we just kind of stay the same place. Now, I want to talk first, before we talk about filing some injustices tonight, I want to talk about rules of engagement tonight. So you may know, because you're all American, is that once a year at the White House, they have this correspondence dinner. Do you know about this correspondence dinner at the White House? It's the one night a year where they suspend sort of all the political correctness of the night, and they just go ahead and live in awkwardness. And they just live in awkward honesty. And they just kind of embrace the tension just for that one night so that they can, have some fun together and discuss some important things. Are you guys open to doing that? No? Yes? No? Are you guys open to just kind of doing the White House Correspondence Dinner tonight? Okay, well, I'm ready to become a Corps cadet. All right. So there are 3 rules of engagement tonight. This is what we're going to do to have a good time so that all of us are blessed. One is seek to learn something new tonight. Anybody here to learn something new? Right? Seek to learn something new. All of us are learners in this whole thing. Number 2, this is a really important one. Choose not to be offended. And as a matter of fact, I want you to turn to someone beside you and say, I'm not going to be offended. And 3, this is also equally important, pick something to do. You remember William Booth's having a conversation with his son, Bramwell Booth, and Bramwell's telling him about the homeless people under the thing, and William Booth turns to him and says, for God's sake, Bramwell, just do something. This is the great, the inspired tradition that we come from. So pick something to do tonight. We'd hate for a talk show just to be all talk. So let me just have a look at this stuff. Let's have a look at this stuff. Okay, let's say we were to talk about gender inequality. That would be harsh. It's difficult, isn't it? So many of us in the room are, well, you know, we're women. And then the other of us in the room, we're not. So it just gets personal right away, right off the top. But you know, the USA fell to 28th on the global gender equality list this year. 28th out of the entire world. America, what's going on? But you know, I had this thought, who knows if a married woman might soon be qualified to lead your country, maybe one might soon be qualified to lead a division. Anyone?
Yes.
I'm just saying, just saying. What is that? Anthony Barnes, what is that? Where should I file this?
Oh, that might be a little too personal. Maybe
All
too
right.
political.
It's personal. You know what? What is it? Personal, too political, too personal. Here we go, and too controversial. All right. I filed it in all 3 places. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. What?
Now you're getting in my business.
What? Do you know that people of color make up 30% of the population in America, but they make up 60% of the population in incarcerated prisons around America? Isn't that weird? According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, 1 in 3 black men can expect to go to prison in their lifetime. How's this filing for you now, Anthony? Yeah.
Better watch my back.
It means that 2.2 million black Americans can't vote. Wow. And it means that former inmates, even if they can't vote, they don't have access to unemployment, and even if they do find a job, which the barriers are immense, they're likely to receive 50% less pay than anyone else in the same job. If only we knew of a people of faith whose leader radically introduced the idea that there was no more racial discrimination or difference between black or white or Jew or Greek or male or female. Wouldn't that be exciting? Wouldn't it be great? I'm excited about this. How about if we talked about refugees' welcome? Is anybody having a good time so far? Isn't this awesome? Now look, in case you think justice is bad news, I brought chocolate, so watch out, here it comes. This is fairly traded. This is the taste of justice right here, people. And it also should guarantee to keep you awake a little bit longer. Here we go. Did that hurt? Is it hurting? Look, Rob's like, bring it. Okay, here we go. All right. The UN says an estimated 20 million people around the world, half of them children. So 20 million people, so 10 million children have fled their home countries because of conflict or persecution. This is a global refugee crisis. Syria is now the single largest source of new refugees, casting 4.4 Syrians out of their countries over the last 5 years. 4.4 million people in the last 5 years who are literally living in cages called refugee camps. The US, thankfully, has taken in some. You know how many the US has taken in? 2,500. Since 2012. Do you know what that is? That's 0.05%. What? If only we knew of a people who followed a leader who himself was a refugee, who actually wrote down and commanded that we would welcome the stranger and include the alien among us. Does anyone know of people like that? Where should I file this one? All right, all right. Okay, let's talk about fairly traded uniforms. Wouldn't this be exciting? Yeah, this would be exciting. And wouldn't it be amazing if the S's, salvation, save to save, safe to serve, wherever that big thing is, wouldn't it be incredible if stitched into the very fabric was the justice that we spoke about? Wouldn't that be cool? Fairly traded uniforms. And actually, hot off the press, I should mention that I understand some unnamed folks have yarn bombed the training college. Did anybody hear about that? last week, some people went, they yarn bombed. I don't know, it's just like incredible subversive justice idea. And they yarn bombed the coffee urns at the training college. And so they just left these little tags sort of asking the question, is this fairly traded coffee? And actually, not too many people had asked that question before, so they had to discover whether or not the coffee was fairly traded, and they found out that indeed cadets have been drinking the blood of the poor through unfairly traded coffee for years. And so what good is yarn bombing a bunch of urns at the training college? What good could come of that? Well, I'm happy to say that since the yarn bombing, the training college has now decided to fairly trade coffee. Yeah. Come on, bring it on. And then the clothes you buy and the chocolate that you eat, it's all too personal. It's all too political. It's all too controversial. Should I get started on the election?
Yes.
Okay, forget that. We're apolitical. Okay, forget that. That's out of control right now. So what I was thinking is, by the time we file all these injustices, we're kind of left with some other burning Salvation Army issues to deal with, like the increased expense of buying nightshade, almost black nylons. That's outrageous. And also, should the American flag fly higher than the yellow, red, and blue, even though there's an international minute that suggests the opposite? That's an injustice. I lost you on that one. And here's a burning issue we could talk about. Should outside brass bands be allowed to play Salvation Army Commission music? But I'm just joking. Tonight, we can't deal with every justice issue out there, but we can deal with some. Right? And so we're going to deal with some life-changing, extremely inspiring, important justice campaigns and issues that will ideally help us all live the kind of lives that we want. To do that, we've got some inspiring people, some visionary leaders, and world-changing types among us that I get to hang out with for the next hour. And we're going to highlight some SA Justice heroes in the House who've been instrumental in furthering justice initiatives with me. And we've got other super people with us, like Commissioner James Knaggs. We've got Lisa Barnes. We've got Roy Snapp-Kolas and Karen Elef. We've got some music. Did you notice Dominique with the DJ tunes from Alaska? We've got a funky pit band. And Eric Rudd is in the house doing some amazing artistic cartooning. And we also have Anthony Barnes with us on the soapbox. What are you doing over there, Anthony?
I'm standing on my soapbox.
And what on earth is a soapbox?
Well, tonight we're going to take some time, 58 seconds a person, a few sections during this meeting where we're going to share about social justice issues that are on our heart. In fact, in a moment, I'm going to invite my good friend Priscilla. Where are you at? Please come up to the front because you're going to share in just a moment. But we're going to share what's in our heart about things that we're passionate about. And I think I'm going to kick this off if I can.
Okay, just hang on a second.
Okay.
Why is it 58 seconds?
Oh, my goodness. Well, have you read Isaiah 58?
Oh, I sure have. Tell me more.
Oh, the scripture is just ranting at us. It's just talking to us very directly. It's a specific moment in time where we can share directly with purpose about an issue that is burning, an issue that affects our world. And so if it's good enough for Isaiah in 58, we only have 58 seconds to stand on this soapbox.
Okay, that's awesome. And how many spots do we have?
Ooh, we got about 7 spots. We're going to do 2 now, 2 in the middle, and about maybe 2 or 3 at the end.
Okay, fantastic.
I'm ready.
You're ready? You're
I'm
ready
ready
for the soapbox?
I'm ready.
Okay, so if you have 58 seconds within you of a burning justice issue,
That guy looks great.
we want you to find your way over to that side over by Anthony so that you can get up on that box. We only have 6 spots, maybe 7 spots tonight. So if you've got something in you, 50, we just want to let you know that this is being recorded, so it could lead to a demotion.
Maybe I won't go first.
Maybe an appointment, somewhere rural, somewhere far away. But and nonetheless, they need Jesus too, so we're good. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Are you ready for a soapbox? Okay. So let's have one right now, and then we'll have the rest in a couple minutes.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, go ahead. Give us your best.
Just to keep it honest, I'm going to time myself. 58 seconds starting now. So my 58 seconds is going to deal with this issue of inequality. Inequality in the sense of education. How am I going to be told that I have equal opportunity if I don't get equal education? When I was 18 years old, I was told, Anthony, you don't go to college. You go and work. And when she meant you as a people that come from the neighborhood that's low income and poor, because we don't care enough to invest in your education. We don't care enough to give to your people. We don't care enough to give from people with the economic status that you have. And so how could you ever have equal opportunity? But we will tell you that you will. Well, how could I ever come up out of the situation I was in if I don't have the wisdom, if I don't have the knowledge and the education to lift myself up from above? But you know what? It was somebody from the community that cared enough to step in, that cared enough to guide me and lead. Somebody just like yourselves. We don't have to wait on the government to inspire us. We can inspire each other as a nation and as a community. That's what I believe.
Yeah. That was beautiful. 58 beautiful seconds of a soapbox. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to participate in the soapbox, don't leave us disappointed. We want to hear from you and issues that are bugging you and things you want to get off your chest and things that you think might make Isaiah 58 proud. Are we cool with that? Okay. Before any more further nonsense, let's actually get to the big business with the big boss. Commissioner Jim Knaggs is in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome him? Welcome. Glad you're here. Sit on the couch over there. You're supposed to stop when he sits down, remember? That was the... Okay, all right. Commissioner, we are so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. In my introduction, which I forgot to say, I have here Commissioner Knaggs is one of the most empowering, visionary, kingdom-minded leaders I know.
Oh.
And you're here with us.
Oh, that's $5.
It's awesome.
That's
Wow. This is like 100% more than I got with the last Salvation Army ring. Just joking. That's great. It's all a joy to serve. I got some questions here for you. On your blog, you recently announced the Salvation Army invented the flash mob.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, look, I think it was something they used to call an open air. And we don't do them very much now. But I think in the early days, they used to say, let's meet at the corner of such and such, and we're going to tell them about Jesus. And so they all showed up. They got their instruments together. They had a flash mob. People got saved, and on they went. So I really think we might have invented the flash mob.
That's cool. I like it. I think we should do more flash mobs.
I think we should.
What do you think? I think like every February 14th, for example, we should probably try a flash mob.
It's a good idea.
At least that. You obviously have a vision for justice in this territory and in some others. Why'd you launch SA Justice? What are your hopes and dreams for this area?
Look, sometimes in our movement, we've reduced ourselves to a club. And that's not what God asked. That's not what God wants. You know, we dress alike, you know, all that stuff. But he doesn't want us to be a club, Danielle. He wants us to be social activists. And we've got to push that to the front. We got to make sure it's clearly a priority of the movement, even in this day. So the hope is to bring social justice issues to the forefront, not just to be nice, not just to raise money from an interested public, but really to get in there and to get the job done.
Yeah.
To be actively involved. Social justice department that you lead, we're counting on you to help us see the issues and then to do something with it.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, be holy and show up to work is a favorite saying of yours. Tell us more.
Yeah, I think it's the secret for all of us today. I've preached it to officers, but I would say it's true about any salvationist. And by the way, a salvationist doesn't have to be a soldier, but a soldier ought to be a salvationist. I hope you're with me on that.
Just wait, hold the phone here just a second. I have these buttons I like to use. I've got 3, so we can, that's not the one I want to use. All right, okay, so we've got those at our disposal. A salvationist does not have to be a soldier, but a soldier ought to be a salvationist.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wow.
So a salvationist is a person who has a heart for bringing people to Jesus, for showing people Jesus, for discipling people in the name of Jesus. And again, I'm coming back to this whole thing about sometimes the soldier wants to belong to a club.
Right. Right.
And that's not what God has called us to.
Right.
We're called to be salvationists. So being holy and showing up for work is sort of the 1-2 punch. It's a bit redundant because it should be sufficient enough to say, be holy.
Right.
Because to be holy means I'm interested in social justice. I want to do something about it. I want to be active. I want to really represent Christ. But of a fact, some people still think that being holy is more about being nice or being non-abrasive or being you've got certain scripture verses memorized and things like that. So saying that a person should be holy and then show up for work means, live a holy life. And I'm not just talking about 9 to 5, show up for work at the office. I'm talking about when you're home and you're with your family or something, to be the Christian you're supposed to be, to be the holy person you're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. I heard somebody one time say that when you raise your hands in worship, you really should have some dirt under your fingernails.
How about that?
That's sort of
that's good. I like
right.
that.
That's
I like
beautiful.
that. Oops.
What do you think are the big obstacles to the engagement piece? What do you think prevents us from really getting to it?
First of all, I don't think it's modeled enough. I think people don't understand it because they don't see it enough. And I think that's one of the places to start, that we really have to show it. We really have to demonstrate it, not just talk about it, not just point to it, but to do it. So I think, first of all, it's got to be modeled more. And then I think, secondly, we relax in the journey. We're very content to be Christians. The grace of God is extraordinary to us. We have a joy in our heart, and we sort of relax in being a Christian and a follower. And then I think, too, that this misconception that holiness is niciness, we miss the point that every once in a while we need to get aggravated and agitated. There's reasons to be upset in this battle and in this fight, not just to be nice, not just to be passive. Holiness is not passivity. Holiness is real action.
Right.
So I think those things legislate against really showing up for work too many times.
Yeah. I wonder, you've also said, I understand, that we should change our S's to L's.
Yeah.
You want to...
Yeah, well, it's sometimes it's, some people think it's save to serve, and some people suggest it's save to save. Actually, I think that means the same thing, by the way. But I think it ought to be loved to love. That's what I think. I think we would do well with that. I'm trying to remember. Do we have L's on I know there's F's on uniform.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Like the F
Somebody
troop,
might, no L's. It's kind of a little, there was that whole loser craze going on. That would be good for humility,
like
too.
in Norway,
Right.
they're F's.
Right,
but
right.
There must be L's somewhere.
I'm up for that. One time I was leading a drop-in center for homeless people, and a homeless guy came in a little inebriated, and he came down the stairs, and he saw me in my uniform. He said, "What do those S's mean?"
Yeah.
Sexy soldier. And I said, "They do now." That's right. Yeah, that's great. Okay, we're going to do 5 for fighting questions. These are like questions I'm going to ask you fast. I'm going to ask you to answer fast.
Right.
Are you ready for this?
Ready.
Okay, so if you guys want to hold up your hand, these are 5 questions. They're going to be fast ones. So let me see it. Let me see it. Like you were like to say, "I'm not doing that." You did it like right away, and then you were like, "I'm not doing that." But now you're doing it. Okay, good. So question number 1, what's one injustice we should tackle in today's world?
I think the biggest social injustice is gender bias.
Great.
I think there are juicier things to talk about, but I think gender bias is by far globally the largest social justice problem.
Absolutely. 90% of women on the planet, or 60% of women, the total population of the planet, they own less than 1% of the land. But we'll get into that later.
And it's prevalent in our culture here too.
Yes.
To the point that you made earlier about no divisional commander wives.
Right.
I could tell you about that, but I'm happy to go on.
Put your hands down, everybody.
I'm happy to go on 2, 3, and 4.
Tell us more about it.
Well,
you got an announcement to make or something?
No. It's interesting. here's a hard fact, whether we want to hear this or not, but this is gender bias. I have asked in my officership, now you see, I've been an officer for 40 years. I've been in the process of officer appointments for quite a while now. But in that process, I have asked 5 couples if they will be willing to serve where the wife is the divisional commander and the husband is something else. And they all said, we think it's a great idea. But all 5, within 24 hours, the wives called me and said, please don't do this to my marriage.
Wow.
Now, that's not the wife's fault. We got wusses for husbands. We've got wusses for husbands because they can't take it. And
Oh, it won't work. It's so bad it won't even. Wait, I can't decide which one to
now, in
push.
fairness to the whole thing, it's still a cultural thing. And as we know, culture trumps a lot of logic. And
And a lot of gospel.
in fairness to these couples, they're just more comfortable with it arranged that way.
Yeah.
But I would say it's another indication of gender bias.
Can I ask how many couples you ask will be okay with the opposite?
That the husband be a divisional commander and the
Yeah.
wife? No.
Okay, just checking.
We don't generally ask.
Right,
gen-
so that's an interesting idea.
Generally, we just give them an appointment. We don't really ask, generally.
There's an idea.
That's possible, I suppose.
I'm just saying, it's just an idea. Okay. Back to the 5 for Fighting. That was awesome. Thanks for that. What's one thing I can personally do right now to help about gender bias?
Okay. Well, first of all, we need to look in the mirror and make sure that we're not guilty ourselves. You know, it's one thing to be disgusted by it. It's another thing to continue our practice.
Great. What role can the Salvation Army play in this issue?
Look, I think we have to keep asking couples. I think we have to keep talking to people. I think we have to keep promoting women. Did you happen to notice the program tonight?
They're all women.
They were all women, yeah. Hallelujah. How many programs
But what
have
are
we
you
been?
saying about Dusty?
How many
Hill?
programs have
What's-
we-
What? I'm just joking. Where are you, Dusty?
he was the token.
Okay, token male.
And
You did a good job. You
That's
did
right.
a good job, Colonel.
and normally on these weekends you see an awful lot of people who aren't women up there.
Right, that's awesome. Right. Do you have people who aren't women? That's fun. Do you have a favorite song, movie, TV show that stirs you up for justice?
You know, I don't. I think a song probably would be one of the Psalms, but the TV shows don't stir me that way.
Yeah.
Or even movies. I don't.
Right.
I go to movies to not think about things.
Right. What thing do you now know that you wish you knew back when?
That would be probably pray without ceasing.
Wow. That's a good one.
And, you know, it's in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Pray without ceasing really is, the marker to that is to understand that prayer is not a conversation. Prayer is not a refrigerator list, or excuse me, a grocery list on the refrigerator of heaven.
Right.
Prayer is a relationship.
Right.
Prayer is a relationship with God. And if we're going to have a relationship with God, we can pray continually. We can pray without ceasing.
Yeah. That's amazing. Look, you wrote the foreword to a new book, I understand.
Yes, ma'am.
Recently released. It's not really a new book, but it's a new book to this territory.
But it's a good book.
Thank you. And it's been updated. And this is a book called Just Imagine, which is social justice explained, biblical justice. So if you're looking for more in-depth explanations from a biblical perspective on justice, it's for sale at the back of the room and the back of the house. Thanks for writing the foreword. I have a special gift for you.
Oh, thank you
for
very
it.
much.
Yep. Okay, awesome. And guys, would you give it up to the leader of the USA Western Territory, Commissioner Jim Knaggs?
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
what
it.
you're doing.
Yeah.
Love you.
All right. Commissioner Jim Knaggs on the couch. Wasn't that awesome? You know, when I was thinking about this, I was really thinking I should have had Carolyn too. Because you're like the funniest person I know. Oh, you would have been way funnier. Like, not that he wasn't great. He was great, wasn't he? But anyway, a nod from the stage. Anyway, we love you guys. Okay, now we've got a couple of things to do. If you have your phones, we want you to take them out. We want you to hashtag SA Justice Live. If you have any things that you want me to say at the end of the show, any highlights, any things you thought missed out, whatever, we want you to do that live so that I can get to it by the end of this show and mention you. And we've got the soapbox. Is Anthony Barnes ready? You got some people ready? And if you haven't mustered up enough strength for a 58-second soapbox rant, now is the time. Do it. Just turn to somebody beside you and say, it's time. Do it now. Do it now. Get some guts, man. Don't be a wuss. You heard the commissioner. Do it now. Get to the box. Anthony Barnes is waiting for you. Anthony.
Yes, we are waiting. And we actually have a few people that have jumped to the opportunity. And in just a second, Priscilla's going to come up and share. I just wanted to share this quote that I was thinking about because I think it deals with this issue. It's from Frederick Douglass, and he says, "The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress," which means they can only do what we allow them to do in our lives. And we need to continue to teach people that. Someone can only do to you what you allow. What you teach them is acceptable. And so we need to teach that these things are not acceptable. Priscilla, come on up. Let's give her a big hand. Priscilla, tell them where you're from, and then 58 seconds. Ready?
I'm from Miami. I get to stand on the soapbox. So my rant tonight is through a form of an open letter. Dear U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, it would be helpful that as you place someone on deportation proceedings for fleeing their home due to violence, that you provide the person with crucial information in their native language. That way, they can actually read when their court date is and appear, and know that even though they're here without status, they do in fact have rights to find refuge here in this country. Oh, and do you see how problematic and upside down it is to tell someone that they have to pay for immigration representation while also informing them that they cannot work since they do not have a work permit? You sure do know how to inform certain things, huh?
Whoa.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. That was
one.
amazing. Thank you for sharing from your heart. You see, it's not that bad. So if you have something you want to share, make sure you come to the side and talk to me. Next up, let's have Jessica.
Jessica.
Come on up.
All right. Here
Jessica,
we go.
tell them where you're here from.
I'm from the beautiful area of San Diego.
Woo!
And I wrote mine down because saying anything in 58 seconds is impossible if I don't have it written. Right? Because I can talk forever. All right. Throughout the Salvation Army, we saw needs and of the lonely, the destitute, and those just needing the unconditional love of Christ. We stepped in to help. You know, throughout our history, we had farm colonies and city colonies. And over 30 years ago, here in America, we built Silvercrest for the lonely, the destitute, the seniors who could not afford proper housing because their Social Security and their pensions were not enough. Well, now there's another group of lonely, destitute people who also need to experience the unconditional love of Jesus that the Salvation Army does phenomenally. The chronically homeless. Building permanent supportive housing for chronically homeless people is something we need to really consider. Chronically homeless, they struggle with mental illness or addictions. You say we can't have people living in our properties that drink alcohol? Well, guess what? The seniors in the Silvercrest sure do. Jesus Christ came for the sick, not just the well. And our people who struggle with mental illness and addictions are sick, and they need the unconditional love of Christ. And we can bring it.
Come on.
Excellent, excellent. Right on time. Thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing.
I feel like the soapbox was made for Jessica.
I think so too.
I think it's awesome. And Priscilla Santos, if you don't know, Priscilla runs our Orange County Human Trafficking Program, is an expert at all those things. So these are incredible. Jess leads homelessness responses in San Diego. So we've got some incredible ranters and soapbox experts really in the house, which is awesome. But you don't have to be an expert to be on a soapbox. You could just be on a soapbox, and that would be cool. So get yourselves ready. Right now, we have an incredible treat. We have the Territorial Youth Chorus with us, and they've come as our musical guests. So ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome the Territorial Youth Chorus of the Salvation Army USA Western Territory. some kind of joke? Matt, what's going on, buddy? What's happening here? Guys, I thought you were a choir. What's happening?
We're just, trying to be part of the whole event and, really promote this We Shall Not Be Silent campaign. So I thought, what better way to shove some tape on a choir, eh?
Right.
They look great, though.
They do look good.
Yeah.
I gotta say that. So we will not be silent. That's something that you guys have committed yourselves to? Is that's some kind of thing going on? Look, we will not be silent.
If the general's in, we are.
Yeah, and so when's this happening? I don't know.
February 14th?
This is September. This is happening in September. This is the Global Weekend of Prayer for the Victims of Human Trafficking. Who's heard of it? Who's actually prayed in your core sometime? Yeah, so this is a We Will Not Be Silent campaign. So this is the idea of taking our prayer, like Commissioner Jim Knaggs just explained to us, we pray in many, many, many ways, but rather than just doing it inside a club, we're forcing prayer out on the streets. We're doing a silent prayer protest on the streets where we can actually let other people know about human trafficking and at the same time petition God in the places where it's rife with trafficking. Anyone participate last year in the We Will Not Be Silent campaign? Okay, you want to go to SA Justice USW on Facebook, or if you hashtag us, we'll get back to you and let you know more and more details. But this is an exciting thing to do that you can contribute to justice in the world. We're excited you guys are committed to it. And we're excited that you're here. And now do you really want to sing?
Well, just give them a warning when they take the masking to the tape off. Slowly, we don't want any blood on the floor, please. Thank you. Right, here we go.
All right, let's try it again. Let's hear what you got to say.
When you're down and troubled and you need helping hand and nothing is going right, close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest nights. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you gotta do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. You've got a friend. If the sky above you should turn dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind should begin to blow, keep your head together and call my name out loud. Soon I'll be knocking upon your door. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you gotta do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. Ain't it good to know that you got a friend? When people can be so cold, they'll hurt you and desert you. They'll take your soul if you let them, but don't you let them. Just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, running to see you again.
thank you so much. A little Carol King for us tonight, and a beautiful reminder of the friendship of God. If you have your phone, I want you to just take it out right now. If you got a phone, take it out. I know you've been trained in meetings not to have your phone out, but take it out. We need you. What we want you to do is in your text messages, we'd like you to text to this number on the next screen. It's going to be 22333. So if you got your phone, just pull it out right now. And I want you to text to 22333. So send a text. You got it? And then in the text, I want you to write TSA West. Okay? In the text, write to TSA West. You got it? If you've done that, you should get a response right away. How many people have done it? Just put your phone up. This is a thing called Poll Everywhere. So we're going to ask your opinion on some justice issues. In particular, we're going to ask you some questions. Okay, if you've done it, go ahead, pull out your phone. There's still a couple of minutes. 22333, and you're going to type in TSA West. All right, and then we're going to ask you a couple questions, and we're going to live poll this thing. So here we go. How many foster kids who never find a permanent home graduate from high school? If you think it's 80%, I want you to write A. If you think it's 50, write B. If you think it's 40, write C. Go ahead, we're going to give you a couple minutes. Like 20 seconds. I'll keep going. If you haven't joined, you can still join. It's a live poll. This is happening live as we're speaking right now. You're voting. This is what's happening, and we're just going to find out who's right in about 10 more seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. C wins. You guys are geniuses. Turn to somebody beside you and say the correct answer is 40%. You nailed it, okay? We're going to go to the next poll real quick. The average age of a child who enters the sex trade in the USA is, and those are your 12, 15, or 18. What's it going to be? 12, 15, or 18? The average age of a child who enters the sex trade. Go ahead. Let's take a poll. We got a 10-second bass beat or something like that, just to would be great. That's fantastic. Well done. Okay, right now we've got 18 is 1%, 15 is 33%, and 12 is 66%. You guys congratulate the person beside you. You are right on this poll. The average age is actually 12 or 13. So I took the lower one for this poll, but 12, the average age of entry into the sex trade in the US is 12. Go ahead to the next question. How many American youth are currently at risk for becoming a victim of human trafficking? 50,000, 100,000, or 200,000? And you are right, 200,000 youth are at risk right now, currently in America, for becoming a victim of human trafficking. I think there's one more poll to come. How many of those victims of human trafficking are from foster care? Let the voting begin. How many of those victims are from foster care? Yeah, excellent job, people. You are people who know your stuff. This is right. It's an excellent job that you're right, and it's a horrific reality that you're right. Am I right? Right? That this is a condition of foster care and human trafficking in our world. Domestic sex trafficking, 70% of those victims in the U.S. are from foster care. So we have a special guest with us today. Lisa Barnes is in the house, and she's going to come and talk more about this issue. Please welcome her. Welcome. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Lisa, you wrote a book.
I did, yeah. 2 books,
I've
actually, but
happened-
we'll talk about the first one.
I have this one here.
Yeah.
Love to a Whore's Daughter.
Yep.
It's not very, it's not titled very provocatively.
No, not at all. It's really lame.
Right, and, but before we get to that, you have
Yep.
a new tattoo or something you want to talk
You know,
about?
new is such a relative word. If we've been friends for a long time, it means one thing. If we just met, it means something else. So
All right.
there you go.
All right. You wrote this book to tell us a little bit about your experience in growing up. If anyone hasn't read this book yet, and by the way, this book is available at the back, so if you haven't read it yet, pick it up and read it.
Yep.
It's an incredible read. Do you want to give us a quick synopsis?
Yeah.
Let
It's
us know.
what was cool is I blog a little bit. I have this blog called Tattooed Preacher Lady, and I was approached to write this book, and I didn't want to do it because I don't really like being told what to do, and I don't really like deadlines. But the publisher said you can write about whatever you want.
Wait a second. So you're a
Yeah.
Salvation Army officer.
I know. That's so funny, right?
And you don't like being told what to do or deadlines. That's
Yeah,
fascinating.
funny how that
Okay,
works out. But
carry on.
he said I could write about whatever I want and take as long as I want. So it's kind of started as a guide to faith for young adults and became more of a kind of like a memoir because I'm a little bit of a narcissist. But it's good, and it talks about areas of faith through the lens of my story and how do we love God and love others and be a person of service when life has kind of taken a dump on you.
So one of the key things about your story is that you went through foster care.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my mom growing up was an addict and a prostitute, hence the word whore in the title. P.S. If you're going to write a book, I encourage you to put a curse word in the title. It's pretty fun. Just kidding. But my mom was an addict and a prostitute, and to the best of my knowledge still is. And growing up where the way I did, I was probably in between 30 and 40 different foster homes and released from foster homes back to my mom to different situations growing up.
Between 30 and 40 foster homes.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
They kind of had the mentality of they didn't want foster kids to get roots anywhere because the ultimate goal is to be reunited with your family at all costs.
Right.
Yeah. So they
Right.
just move you around. So even if I couldn't go back with my mom straight away, I would go from one group home to another.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you think are some of the obstacles that prevent the church from engaging with the foster care community?
I think the same obstacles that prevent us from doing most things. I think we're afraid. Sometimes it's real fear, sometimes it's irrational fear, but sometimes we think that it's too big, and
Right.
why try because we're not going to succeed.
Okay.
But I think that just doing something is better than doing nothing.
Okay. What were some of the things that people did right in your life and things you wish they had done different?
Yeah, it's a loaded question. I'm really thankful, actually, when I was in foster care, state-run foster care, I didn't have any bad experiences. I was never abused, I was never attempted to be trafficked, I was never hurt. I remember there was a Cinco de Mayo festival I went with my mom, and she got just out of her mind drunk and beat me up in the food court.
Right.
And the police came, and they separated us, and I was in the back of the squad car. And I remember just being able to kind of take a deep breath and think, I'm going to be all right for a little bit. So I think those that really intervened in my life as far as the system goes did a great service to me.
Great.
And maybe some more aftercare, maybe some more follow-up would have been great. Yeah.
Right. So in other people, what did they do right? What were some things that people did right that changed the trajectory of your life?
Yeah. I had some great folks at the Army that just loved me. My youth leader, Lori Davis, is here, and she's phenomenal. She got a Trailblazer Award during the gathering, and no one deserves it more than her. And there was a time where literally I called after my mom I was just in a bloody pile after my mom went a little crazy. And I called Lori, and she came and she picked me up. Her family was seeing Flubber in the theaters. I'll never forget it. And she left her family to come and get me, and then paid for my ticket to see the last 10 minutes of Flubber. And I remember sitting there in the movie theater, literally picking dried blood out of my hair. And that's where I heard the voice of the Lord for the first time.
During Flubber?
Yep, during Flubber, dried blood. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? So I'm picking the dried blood, and I remember hearing an audible voice say, Lisa, you're gonna have a family. One day you're going to have a family.
Wow.
It's just gonna look very different.
Wow.
And so I think people that, like Lori, who were my family, people like Josephine Morton, she's in the back as well,
Right.
that they were my family when I had nothing.
Wow.
And no one, yeah.
What's something we can do now? Is there anything new that you're excited about?
Yeah, there is something new I'm excited about. Danielle and I have partnered together to work on this empowerment curriculum for girls in foster care. And it starts as there's a one-day event. It's similar to like a youth council. Like a youth council Say Summit event. We did a manual, so if you have never put on a big event, no worries, we have got you covered. We have all the information you need. We have how to build an advisory board, how to finance the event, how to put it on, how to get people involved. So you throw this great big event, you get girls from foster care and group homes into your building, into the local church, and you let them know that they have worth and value and they're worth it. And then after they come to this event, the people that have volunteered for the event are gonna go and they're gonna do small groups. In these different group homes and foster homes, they're gonna make a difference. And there's this guided journal that I wrote, and the girls are gonna go through that. There's some stuff in that journal that talks about who we are and what's happened to us. And there's things in there like, what do you wanna be? Dream big dreams, aim high. And let's talk about college, let's talk about great things. And then there's even a section in the back on life skills, because I remember I never learned how to cook, I never learned how to iron, I never learned how to apply for a job. I didn't do any of that. Even when I got married, my husband jokes that when we first got married, I would burn up some cornflakes.
Right.
So I couldn't do nothing. I know, it's true. But obviously I know how to eat, so we figured it out. So in the back of that, there's some life skills, how to cook eggs, how to apply for a job, how to do laundry. There's even a section on manners and kindness, because that's definitely a learned skill.
I'm still learning it. So,
Amen.
chapter 1, who you are and why it matters. That's a pretty big conversation.
Yeah,
and we kind of, there's some folks here tonight who are part of this process, and we wanted to honor them. We have a little segment called SA Justice Heroes. And so we have some heroes in the house, the Brave team, some folks on the Brave team that helped us launch this in Long Beach. Do you want to come up, guys? We'd love to honor you and join us on the couch here. Can you come? I know it's a surprise. And I don't know, is Rohita Khan in the house? Is Rohita Khan here? No, that's okay if you're not. Not that you can hear me. Don't anyone panic, it's okay.
Come on up.
We have a couple,
Miley.
Miley's
What's up, girl?
here.
How you
Is
doing, girl?
Angela here? Is Angela here?
No.
Oh yeah, there you are. Come on
Yeah.
up. Come on up.
Come on over.
There might not be totally room, but come on up here. So these guys are all part of a team of folks that in Long Beach, they kind of came across these statistics we just talked about tonight. Mary's
What's up,
here,
girl?
and Miley's
How you
here.
doing?
Look,
Good
I
to
don't
see
have
you.
one for
Good
you,
to see
Mary,
you.
but that's okay. Here, at least this.
Hi,
This
how
is
are
a certificate of recognition for being a SA Justice hero. Thanks for partnering with us on the Brave Venture.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for all your work, what you're doing. Like, I'm sorry, welcome. Okay, just stand here for a second, be awkward with me. So these guys, they've been, Mary White here is with Gems Uncovered, and they've been kind of scouring the streets, really helping women get out of prostitution for years, and coming across the same statistics that we just learned tonight about the realities of where all of these bodies are coming from. And these bodies are coming from foster care. And so a group of women from the Long Beach 7th Street Church kind of got together and said, this is crazy, like we've got to stop the madness, which is kind of the journey of justice, isn't it? It's not just pulling the bodies out, but going up and saying, where are these people coming from, and trying to deal with these systemic issues. And so they started a empowerment conference for girls. And I found out about it and kind of went, because I was looking for solutions to this sort of thing, and it's just an incredible, the last Brave event a couple weeks ago, 500 girls, from Long Beach, the whole, the city's partnering with the team from the church and like bringing all of the girls to hear this incredible message of empowerment, saying, you know, we kind of came up with this idea that if the enemy can target a group of people for exploitation, we thought the church could target the same group of people for redemption.
That's right.
You believe that's possible? Right. We mean the banishment of wickedness on the earth, right? And so this Brave thing became an actual thing. I said, guys, come. They came into the office and we picked their brains, and they told us every single thing about what they had done to make this actual thing happen, so that other churches and Salvation Armies and camps and wherever else we think that the empowerment message for girls needs to happen. So tonight, this is officially launched.
Yay.
We're launching Brave as a team. And you know, Lisa wrote this journal for the most part, and the first thing that's in this journal, you know, beautiful, is a letter Lisa wrote to herself when she was 12. Wow. And it's a really powerful letter, just to sort of write to a 12-year-old, to write to her 12-year-old self and say, this is what I needed to hear when I was 12 that might have actually changed some things earlier. So it's a really powerful, and it goes from there into some really powerful things about identity and how we believe that people were born into an identity, not from human conception or man's design, but by the will of God to change the world. So we're really excited. At the back at the Justice booth before you leave, if this is something that you think you want to get excited about, it's free tonight. Take it tonight. After that, we're going to start charging you. But tonight, because it's the launch, this is a do-it-yourself manual for a Brave conference. So if you want to host one at your local corps or school or wherever you're from, ARC, whatever it is, and then a journal for girls. You want to give it up for the SA Justice heroes among us. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Miley. It's done. It's a thing. Yeah.
I want you to turn to somebody beside you right now and just say, I think you could be brave. Eric Rudd, what's going on the cartoon front? That's pretty cool. So far, so good. Let's give it up for Eric Rudd, the cartoonist extraordinaire. And everybody, let's, wait, I've got 5 more questions for you. Are you ready? The top 5 for fighting questions. What's one injustice we should tackle in today's world?
You know, Jim Knaggs kind of hit it, but I'm really passionate about women standing up and being brave and being strong and not letting anybody tell us what we can or can't do. And most importantly, not waiting for permission.
Not waiting for, so if he were to call you up today and say, would you be a DC? The answer would be yes.
You better believe it, because I don't have a wussy husband. Yeah.
Okay, all right. What's one thing, Anthony Barnes, oh wow. What's one thing I can do personally right now to help?
Yeah, you know, I think sometimes we wait to do great things until we have somebody that tells us, hey, do you want to do this great thing? But nobody asked us if we want to do brave. Nobody commissioned us. Nobody gave us a brave appointment. We said, this is a need and we can do it. So I think what we can do, everyone, specifically women, is stop waiting for permission to do something awesome. You have the creator of the universe in your corner and he's already given you permission and he's already empowered you. So shut up and do it.
What role can the Salvation Army play in this issue?
Yeah, I think once we kind of see that there's women doing great things, let women do great things, and maybe let appointments reflect that.
Do you have a favorite song, movie, TV show that stirs you up for justice?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big U2 fan. Yeah,
U2.
Big U2 fan. And they have this song called Trying to Throw Your Arms Around the World, and they have a quote in there from Gloria Steinem, and she says, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. And I think it's great. It's a great partnership. I think it's God's design to do it together, but you don't have to.
One thing you now know that you wish you knew back then?
Is that when you have an idea, when you have something that comes to your mind that you're passionate about, there's a good chance that is the leading of the Holy Spirit. So don't wait to accomplish your dreams and to aim high, because maybe the Lord is nudging you in that direction. So do it. Don't wait.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Lisa Barnes.
Thank you.
That felt nationalistic. It was awesome. Anthony Barnes on the soapbox. What's going on over there?
Hey, we got a few more people who are ready to share from their hearts, ready to share that 58 seconds. And just before I call up Melanie, in fact, Melanie, start making your way up here. I have another quote from you from Jean Paul Richter. It says, "Do not wait for extraordinary circumstances to do good. Try to use ordinary situations." Think about that as we hear about the next few rants. Where are you here from, Melanie?
Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm from Seattle. And
Melanie.
totally unplanned, my rant is about foster care. And
wow.
A little over 3 years ago, my husband and I really wanted kids. Selfishly, we just wanted more children. And so we thought, hey, instead of waiting 2 years to adopt a baby, let's foster some kids now, and hopefully we'll get to adopt them. God had other plans. We've fostered 3 beautiful, beautiful, beautiful children, and we have not been allowed to adopt any of them. However, 2 of the 3 of them, their parents come to our corps regularly. And God has asked us to adopt their parents. And it's been the craziest, hardest journey, because we were like, nope, we don't want to know them. We just want to love the kids because that's easy. And God said, nope, I'm going to show you what amazing grace looks like. And I'm going to show you the orphans are the parents. They're the ones that are orphaned. These parents have never, ever been loved. They do not have a family. And so just loving them and calling them and being part of them and coming beside them as they've been able to parent their children again, they've just been astonished at what a family looks like. And
Wow.
you want to grow your core? Become a foster parent. That's
Wow,
all.
that's fantastic.
Melanie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking on that biblical mandate as God talks so much in the Word about more than many of the issues that we discuss. He talks about taking care of the orphans and the widows. So thank you so much, Melanie. Up next, Adriana, come on up here. Tell us where you're here from. 58 seconds, you go.
Hi, I'm Adriana. I'm from Fresno Citadel. I'm standing up here for all those who have been bullied, not just from school, but those who have been bullied in the church. We are saved to serve. How can we save those who are broken if we are picking on them? A church is not just for those who are saved and for those who love Jesus. It's a place where people who are broken, who are lost, and who are different can come and be accepted. I am so heartbroken by the fact that we have people who are teasing other people because they're different or because they're just not the way that they should be. It's not our choice. It is God's choice. We need to take the scales from our eyes and let Jesus be our eyes. Love them the way that Jesus loved them. Be the light in their life. Oh, jeez. Jesus is amazing. And we just need to show his love to the world. So stop it. Don't be bullies. Love everyone. Okay, time. Okay.
Thank you, Adriana.
That's great.
I'm ready for that sermon, so I'm coming to your core. I'm ready for it. And also, I just want to say, Adriana, thank you for welcoming the refugees, right? They're coming looking for a home that they may not have even heard of yet. And we're going to welcome them home and say, welcome here. Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got some overarching themes today. Don't be a wuss and don't be a bully.
That's right.
Okay,
that's
so
right.
somewhere in between there is a righteous posture, right? It's beautiful. Okay, I know I'm not supposed to be a wuss, and I really shouldn't be a bully. So somewhere in the middle is some righteous places to land. Listen, grab your phones again. I've got one more poll for you. I'd really like to learn together here about homelessness. And it's a live poll opportunity. You got your phone? Here we go. True or false? This is a true or false one, so it's a little easier. Most homeless people are single men. True or false? Let the voting begin. All right, once again, Salvation Army experts in the house. It is false. Families with children make up 41% of the entire homeless population. 41% are families with children. 1 in 4 homeless people in the U.S. is a child. Okay, poll number 2. Homeless people are lazy and don't want to work. You all know the answer to this question, right? But true or false? Homeless people are lazy and don't want to work. Don't worry, it's anonymous, but if we find you, that's gonna not bully you, but we're not gonna be a wuss about it. So be prepared. All right. 1 out of every 4 homeless people in the U.S. is employed. 1 in every 4 homeless people in the U.S. is employed. Here's the next one. Most homeless people are mentally ill. You want to go to the next poll? We got that one right. Most homeless people are mentally ill. True or false? That's right. The correct answer to that question is false. About 25% on average are mentally ill of homeless people. 25% of homeless people are mentally ill. Let's go to the next one. The root causes of homelessness are. Go ahead and have a vote. Which one do you think it is? Yes, that is correct. Number one, low income and high housing costs are the highest reason, are the most prominent reason for homelessness. Addiction, by the way, and mental illness are both at 25%, and there's a lot of overlap between those two. And we're going to talk about this and a whole lot more with Roy and Karen, who are here, advocates on homelessness, and they're going to help us debunk some of the myths and also learn something new about homelessness and how we can fight it. Do you guys want to come and join us? Please welcome them to the stage. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Thanks for coming. Yeah, you too. Thanks for coming, Roy. Appreciate it. All right. Now, we were going to watch a homeless clip on YouTube. You guys can check it out a little bit later if you want, but it's a homeless video of a magician who goes out on the street and kind of makes money appear in people's hands. You know, and he goes, it's a couple minutes, it's kind of cool, check it out. And I guess this kind of leads us to, do you think money's the answer to homelessness?
Well, that's one of many answers. It's not the complete answer, but it does help.
Okay. So if homeless people were able to have more money somehow or get more money somehow, that would be part of the solution?
Part of it, they need some of it's counseling and direction on where to go and how to get there.
Right.
And if you have a handful of money and you don't know where I can go for housing, they don't really know that equation.
Okay, so kind of like trying to connect the dots between
Exactly.
what they have and what's available.
Some
and how to get
guidance,
it.
yes.
Okay, fantastic. As people who advocate on behalf of people who experience homelessness, what are the main things that perpetuate that injustice? Why are people homeless? Why is there a homeless crisis in LA? What's going on?
Well, many reasons, and your poll says a lot. There's a lot of mental illness that we really need to address. And as far as why the homelessness is, it happens.
Right.
It happened to me, and it happened pretty quickly.
Tell us a little bit about how it happened with you.
Well,
It'll help us understand.
It happened when everything collapsed in my life. I was engaged. I was to be married, and my fiance passed away, had a stroke, and we were kind of in a transition mode, and I had nowhere to go, and I was left alone. So I ended up living in a tent on property of someone that I know, with no water, no electricity. And it was frightening. I was out there in the country where coyotes circling my tent, and I had my dog, but I didn't know how this was supposed to be. It's very difficult to know what to do. Calling on the shelters and trying to find out how that works, the rules are odd. You have to stand in line and wait, and how do you get there? And I don't have a car, and I don't know how that works. So it's difficult, and it's very degrading. It's very, very, it's frightening.
Right.
Very frightening.
Wow.
To be in that position.
Yeah.
And I will never leave you nor forsake you. It kept going on in my mind. And
so you were already a believer?
I was a believer. That's what I turned to. I wasn't really paying attention to that until that happened.
Right.
And I had a point there where I had lost my dog, and I lost my home, my dog, my fiance, my life, my existence, my family. Nobody could help. I'm an adult. What do you do with this person that fix me?
Right.
And so I ended up deciding one day just the pain was so bad that I drank a bottle of vodka. And then I collapsed. And I collapsed on my face. I didn't break bones, but I just looked hideous. Broke my teeth, and I ended up in a hospital, and they released me in that condition and gave me a token that I couldn't feel, I had damaged the nerves in my spine that control the hands and legs, and I was in such pain that I had to get on the bus to get to a shelter, and I had the token in my mouth, and I gave it to the bus driver because I couldn't hold anything.
Wow.
And I got there, and I ended up going to USC. This was in the Valley, and I ended up going to USC, and they gave me surgery, and after that, they were going to release me, and I said, well, where do I go from here? And they had someone come up to me and say, well, we have a place called Bell Shelter, and they have a recuperative care called JWCH, and I said, well, where the heck is Bell? I didn't know, and I said, all right, so they just put me there, and from there, I recovered, and when I recovered and was released, they accepted me at the shelter next door, and going to the services on Sunday, I could just kind of cry and listen to the word, and I just hungered more for it and more for it, and I fell in love with the ministry there.
Great.
And I then became a soldier. I did last thing in the world I was going to do.
Yeah.
I thought, no, well, I'm not a follower. I'm not a groupie kind of person.
Right.
But that was God just told me this is it. You know, there's so many areas in here that it doesn't. Even if you just bounce a ball, they can use you.
Right.
Whatever you are and what you can do, and that changed my life, and I've changed. It's been glorious, and
Wow.
And the experience that I've had, I have such a compassion for the homeless,
Wow.
and I'm so blessed to have been where I was put at the Bell Shelter.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was
You know, what's
wonderful.
interesting about your story, because I read some statistics lately that are interesting, in that homelessness comes before addiction oftentimes. That addiction is one of the ways people cope with the realities of homelessness and the harshness of that life. And oftentimes we're led to believe that addiction leads to homelessness. You know, it's an interesting idea that homelessness often comes first. What, when we're engaged, in LA specifically, there's a lot of homeless people around. What would you suggest we do when we encounter someone who's homeless? What should we be doing, or what shouldn't we be doing? What's some guidelines for us?
I find that whatever you can do as far as giving them food and so forth, but I think that the community, I think the churches every church, I believe, should have some type of outreach. And in the winter, some type of a shelter in their community.
Yeah.
I believe that would be helpful. There's so much of it, and it's growing into our neighborhoods
Yeah.
even, and we all see it every day.
So
And-
when you see somebody, if I'm walking down the street and I see someone who's homeless, should I stop even if I don't have anything to give them? Should I stop? Should I talk to them? Should I not? Like, what are your guidelines for people?
Well, share the word.
Yeah.
First of all and foremost, because that really is the answer, and that it's what brought me out of the disgust of myself, the self-esteem and everything. I don't feel ashamed of it now, but it happened, and it can happen. The addiction and the mental illness, those are all issues, very real and very important to look at.
Right.
But it happens sometimes
Right.
before you know it, with uncontrollable circumstances
Yeah.
like mine.
I think that sometimes what can happen is we see homelessness as a problem to be solved,
Right.
rather than people with whom we're going to engage.
Right.
And so it becomes, even when we talk about ministering to the homeless as churches or as religious organizations, it's what can we do to solve some immediate issue that the person has and then move them on their way, rather than saying, we're in this together, we're part of some larger community, and what is it that we can do to walk along this journey together? And so when you start from that default position
Right.
of we're in this together, then there may be issues, there may be difficulties, all the things related to mental illness and whatever else, those come along. But the starting point is that we're entering into relationship with people. And if we start from the other aspect, which is this is a problem to be solved, then it's how do I get this person out of my office as quickly as possible so I can go back to doing
Right.
whatever it is that I'm doing. And so I think that's the kind of shift. And just in terms of Karen telling her own story of it humanizes, it puts a face on this rather than just a statistic, and saying, okay, even if you have a place to stay, Karen, what kind of life are you living, and how can we be a part of that? And also, just in terms of the core, how can we empower you to be of service to others as well?
Right. That's amazing. You know, I think there's a Zulu cultural thing that they say where in the morning when they say good morning to each other, they say, I see you, and then the person responds, then I am alive. And I think when it comes to homelessness, some of the great injustices of it is the invisibility of it. You know, that people have lost their sense of dignity and humanity in it.
Yeah.
So if we were to engage homeless people that we see as potential friend encounters, like I'm meeting a new person today, rather than, oh no, there's a person with a problem I have to fix, that would change the way we engage.
I mean, the Good Samaritan story.
Right.
You know, how Jesus turns it
Yeah.
because he's asked, who's my neighbor?
Yeah.
And then he turns the story and says, how did this Samaritan act as a neighbor? I mean,
Right.
he was the one the focus was on, rather than figuring out loopholes as to who I can help and who I don't have to help.
Right.
And so if we are empowered by the Holy Spirit to say, who am I called to be a neighbor to today?
Yeah.
And how then does that impact the way in which I go about my day? And it's as simple, in a sense, as the Good Samaritan. Do I see somebody in need? Do I have some capacity to provide some level of assistance?
Yeah.
And am I prepared to at least walk along something of a journey with this particular person?
Right. That's a pretty good question to ask yourself every day. Who am I called to be a neighbor with today?
Amen.
I think it's Rob Burks' mother that had this incredible idea that oftentimes in the Salvation Army, particularly, we're an innkeeper when actually the Lord called us to be a Samaritan. And those are different roles. So like we can still be an innkeeper in our job and yet still be a good Samaritan with our lives. It's not a bad
And both
not a bad
roles are
question.
important.
Right.
And it's just that maybe that when we're doing the innkeeper work, we say we've done enough, rather
Right.
than saying that's part of it. But as the Good Samaritan, maybe this journey extends beyond the time they're staying in our inn, beyond the time that they're in our shelter or in some other facility that we're operating. So.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. I've got 5 for fighting questions. All right? There's 2 of you, so it'll have to be fast. Here it is. What's one injustice we should tackle in today's world? First one that comes to your mind. What's one injustice? It can be homelessness. It's okay.
Mental illness.
Mental illness?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I am going to say segregation in the church.
Segregation in the church?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What's one thing I could, nothing like more controversial that you
Yeah,
got? Yeah,
yeah.
okay, great. What's one thing I can personally do right now to help?
Get active in your community.
Yep.
Just have your eyes open.
Have
to
your eyes open.
People in need.
Yeah. In with segregation in the church, what's one thing I can do?
Yeah. So.
Find
be-
another church?
Be the church.
Be the church.
And to be the church, first and foremost, to me, is the door's wide open.
Okay.
All are welcome.
Yeah.
Right? That Christ died for all, so therefore, and I would also say that the default position is the poor and the marginalized. That
Okay.
we start there in terms of reaching out and let it fan out from there. And so changing a mindset in terms of segregation of the church, that we are not starting with our culture, we're starting with the culture of Christ. Stanley Auerbach and William Willimon wrote a book years ago called Resident Aliens, the idea that the church is a culture, or it's called to be a culture, and that we're not first and foremost called to change this culture, but to become the culture of the kingdom of God, and let that then influence how we live our lives in such a way that we might influence the larger culture.
Right.
So,
Right.
anyways.
Yeah, the we are the lead of example in
Yeah.
terms of this is what a perfect world should look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. What role can the Salvation Army play?
A big role.
Be the church.
Do you have a favorite song, movie, TV show that stirs you up for justice?
Give me shelter from the Rolling Stones.
That's awesome. That's great. That's a good one.
Yeah, me? Paul and Silas bound in jail. Ain't no money for to go their bail. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
Yeah.
And last one thing you now know that you wish you had known. One thing you know now that you wish you had known back then.
Well, you can't do everything on your own. Don't be afraid to look for some help and ask for help. It's okay.
That's a good one.
When I started in this 30-some years ago, I really thought it was about me, and I think it's about Jesus. So,
Wow, that's great. Thank you very much to these guests. Ladies and gentlemen, thank them for coming on the show. Great. We're glad that you're here. Thank you so much,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Beautiful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Roy. Okay. Now, one last shot at the soapbox.
Of course, all the people started coming at the end, right?
Yeah, let's do it. Come on. Quick.
All right, so we got a few. Last quote, I swore never to be silent whenever and wherever human beings endure suffering and humiliation. We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. That's by Ellie Weisel. Next up, we're gonna have Isabel come up, and she's gonna share with us from her heart. Isabel, tell them where you're from, and you got 58 seconds.
Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm from LA, or Torrance Core. So I want to talk about gender inequality, or maybe more accurately and alternatively called things that suck for women. So women in the US get paid 78.6 cents to the man's dollar, and this varies depending on whether you are white, black, or Latina, and that sucks. We get paid less, but we're also expected to pay more. There's a thing called the pink tax on pads and tampons. Sorry, are you uncomfortable? So we are expected to not only pay more and get paid less, while men get to get paid more, but not pay for those special things we need every month. And speaking of pads and tampons, again, are you uncomfortable? Women in third world countries who don't have access to those things, let me remind you, this happens every month, okay? So they need access to those things, and I want to know what we could be doing as a church, as the Salvation Army, and as a Christian community, what we could be doing for those women who don't have access to those things. And while we're on the topic of, yes, women, 5 seconds. Oh, sexual harassment. Read the Stanford Rape Victims letter, please. Thank you. Good night.
I like this one. She's awesome.
Things
She's
that
awesome.
suck for women.
Things that suck for women.
Yeah, that's well named. Excellent.
All right, we got time for two more. One more, two more.
That's right. Quick.
All right, come on up. Let's have Hector Acosta come on up, and Hector's going to share with us from his heart. Hector, tell them where you're from and what's on your heart. 58 seconds.
I'm from the Antelope Valley, and this rant is to myself, to anybody who's been empowered as a Salvation Army officer or as a representative of Jesus in your community. I am in my community. We're having a great momentum in terms of church growth and being able to serve people and all that kind of stuff, but I'm kind of dealing with a homeless situation. And I'm waiting for some sort of program or some sort of shelter or something to come down the pipe from DHQ to help me out. And in the latter part of the year, while I'm kind of waiting for these programs, I'm starting to think to myself, hey, you're the thing that they're sending from DHQ. You're the answer that they're sending from DHQ. You're the one that needs to be doing something about what's going on. And so I'm trying to figure out what that looks like, and I'm starting to discover that it looks like me doing something when I see someone in need. And so I see somebody in the corner and they need something. I can't get them to a shelter because I don't have a shelter, but I could feed them. And I have resources that I can offer, and I can build friendships like Roy was saying just a second ago. It's not a program. It's about connecting with someone, and when my friend is in need, I gotta do something about that. So what if we made a friend and did something about that?
Nice.
Amen. Thank you, Hector. And last up, my
Nicely
good
done.
friend, Tice Aarons.
My name is Tice, and I'm from, by way of Glendale, California, San Francisco, California. I want to talk about something that we barely ever talk about, that I see people shy away from because it's uncomfortable, because it makes people afraid. This is the fact that there are men in the world who are attracted to men. There are women in the world who are attracted to women. And there are men and women in the world and other people in the world who choose to redefine what that means. I want to talk about how I don't see a lot of conversations. I don't hear a lot of conversations about this reality in the world. And what I want to see is more conversations, more open conversations. I see a lot of shouting. I see a lot of yelling. I see a lot of quiet, but you can kind of see on the face they have strong thoughts about it. I want to open up the conversation. I want us to be able to talk about things that are uncomfortable, because there are people made in the image of God who don't know that they are made in the image of God and that they belong to God. And that is what I want to talk about.
Beautiful.
Amen.
That's fantastic.
All right, this has been exciting.
How's it been on the soapbox? You feel good about it?
I'm loving it.
Eric
loving
Rudd,
it.
what do you got going on now? What's happening? What's the latest cartoon episode? Yeah, fantastic. That's beautiful. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we just want to thank you so much for being a part of this tonight. We're really reminding you of the 3 rules of engagement. I don't know if you remember what they were, but there were 3 of them. Does anyone remember what they were? One is you were going to learn something new, right? Anyone learn anything new? Anyone choose not to be offended tonight? Everyone left without any offense. That's fantastic. If you were offended, just leave it here. We'll take care of it. We'll clean it up later. And then number 3, do you remember what the 3rd rule of engagement was? Pick something to do, right? This isn't just all talk, right? We want to actually walk. And one of the things, Jay Leno's famous for, he said he would do anything for the perfect body except diet and exercise. And I feel like sometimes in justice, we do the same thing. We would do anything to stop human trafficking except to host a Brave event, except make friends with somebody who needs to, except to show up at an outreach. We'd do anything to stop the commodification of human beings in our world except buy fair trade, right? Except actually take a look at what we're purchasing and all those sort of things. So the good news of tonight is that there are so many things that we can do and so many really good news. Please, on your way out, stop at the back and have a look at some of the stuff that we have there from Trade for Hope. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff. It's Father's Day coming out, and so these, in case you were a guy and you felt awkward tonight or picked on in any way, we don't want you to be a wuss or a bully. We just want you to be a good guy, okay? And we think there are a whole bunch of them in this room tonight and also in the world, too. We're really big fans of men. Just for the record, I'm married to one and also have 3 boys, so I'm a big fan of men. But at the back there, we have these beautiful dad's cards. So for Father's Day, if you haven't gotten them one, get one. These were made by women who have come out of the sex industry in India and Bangladesh, made by hand through Trade for Hope. Those are all there, as well as some other stuff. Please consider the Brave stuff. We've got lots of resources to inspire, inform, and instigate social justice right where you are. I want you to turn to the person beside you right now. I want you to tell them, I see you, and I want you to respond, then I am alive. Then I am alive. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming tonight. Give yourselves a hand. Bless you. Let's change the world.
Try my very best, and fail every test. Praying every day, but it seems so far away. I know you know my heart, it's keeping us apart. Tell me what to do, 'cause it all